Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, how much could depending on your location. Please join in the struggle to liberate our people from the contraption. Like and share videos. Nuro luayo, na nuro luayo. Nuro luayo, na nuro luayo. Ọ dịghị mgbe ike mmadụ ga-akarị ike Chukwu. Ọ dịghị mgbe ike Naịjirịa ga-akarị ike Biafra. Nna nuro, onye kere ụwa nuro luayo. Nna nuro, Olisa bi n'igwe nụrụ akwa yo. Now, the news update.
Events that unraveled in the Pajame District Courts today, we have to do a quick summary of what happened yesterday. Because the video released yesterday around 8 p.m. was inconclusive. That is, we did not finish the video. So before we start with the event that played out in court today, we have to do a quick summary and continue from yesterday's event. Well, just in case you don't know, a testifier codenamed T3 was called upon by the prosecuting lawyer to come up and take the stance and testify against Simon. And this T3, or the testifier, happens to be a financial officer of Simon in his company known as Simon and Co. OY. Yes. So the financial officer of Simon's company, Simon and Co. OY, was called upon yesterday to testify against Simon's financial records. In his testimonies, he claimed that Simon at some point ordered for arms and ammunition from the dark web. Yes, just in case you don't know what the dark web is a part of the internet where you cannot use Google and other search engines to access. That is to say, you cannot access the site using our normal browser and our normal search engines. If you want to access the dark web, you must install a particular browser. So this testifier claims that Simon accessed the dark web and he purchased arms and ammunition that he sent to Nigeria, that he sent to the southeastern region of Nigeria, that resulted to series of insecurities in that part of the country. Interestingly, Simon's lawyer had to cross-examine T3, or this testifier, and it became clear that this individual, this T3, who happens to be, once upon a time, was a financial officer of Simon, also purchased items from the dark web. So let's go back to the courtroom and see how every single thing played out yesterday, and then we are going to jump into today's video and give you a better picture and clarity. So T3 was still in the stance, that is, the financial officer of Simon was still in the stance, and Simon's lawyer was cross-examining him. And Simon's lawyer asked, have you at any point audit or edit the company's transactions? That is, have you at any point audit or edit Simon's company's financial records and transactions? Yes, replied T3. Simon's lawyer continued by saying, is it possible that you, T3, can buy bitcoins with the company's money? Answer yes or no. Yes, replied T3. At this point, the prosecuting lawyer had to jump in by saying, my lord, this man is trying to put blames on my witness without any basis or evidence. I see it as a form of bully. The cross-examination should discontinue. That is, the prosecuting lawyer is asking the judge to discontinue any form of cross-examination coming from Simon's lawyer. I hope this is actually very, very clear. So back in the courtroom, the judge said, no, this cross-examination coming from Simon's lawyer must continue and it must be concluded. He also went a step further to claim that Simon's lawyer has the right to cross-examine this witness. Moving on swiftly, Simon's lawyer continued by thanking the judge. He said, thank you, my lord. I shall continue with my cross-examination. Well, let's do a quick analysis of what is currently happening here in the court of law, just in case you don't understand. Right now, Simon's lawyer is cross-examining a witness codenamed T3, who, like I said, happens to be the financial officer of Simon. This financial officer, over the past couple of months or years, had access to Simon's banking details, his transactions, and so on and so forth. And the lawyer from Simon's camp is trying to let the court know that this witness, T3, the financial officer of Simon, is the individual who purchased arms and not Simon. Hope you're understanding what is currently going on here. So let's go back to the courtroom and see what followed suit. Simon's lawyer asked T3, have you ever purchased Bitcoin with your personal account? Yes. Simon's lawyer asked him, have you ever accessed the deep web or the dark web before at any point? Yes, replied T3. Have you ever made any purchase on the deep web? Answer yes or no. T3 took a deep breath and replied, yes, I have purchased items from the dark web. Which item did you buy from the dark web? Replied Simon's lawyer. A mystery box, replied T3. And Simon's lawyer asked, what are the contents of this mystery box? T3 replied by saying, I've forgotten most of the items because I got this mystery box in early 2024, so I've forgotten most of the items I received. Simon's lawyer continued by saying, did you get anything dangerous? It all depends, replied T3. What do you mean? Replied Simon's lawyer. Well, once you buy a mystery box from the dark web, you can't determine the content of that box. The last mystery box I bought, I saw bullets inside. Simon's lawyer replied by saying, do you have license to own firearms? No, replied T3. Simon's lawyer replied by saying, so you ordered a mystery box from the dark web and found bullets inside. Is that correct? Yes, replied T3. Did you report to the police? Asked Simon's lawyer. No, I did not, replied T3. Simon's lawyer replied by saying, my lord, as you can see, this man who claims to testify against my client has committed a series of offenses. I doubt if we can take his testimony seriously. Simon's lawyer now turned to the prosecuting lawyer and asked, do you have anything to say? The lawyer said, at this point, no. So what do we think is currently going on here? As you can see, a witness who came before the court of law to testify that Simon bought and sent arms to Nigeria is also guilty of keeping bullets in his possession. To own or keep bullets in Finland, you must have a valid permit or license for the firearm that uses those bullets. This is issued by the police. So T3 as a testifier has committed an offense and will be tried in subsequent days. That's what we believe. So the question here is, why did the prosecuting lawyer fail to do a thorough and in-depth surveillance and investigation on his testifiers before bringing them to the court of law? This is a case of full negligence. The prosecuting lawyer should have cross-examined his witness before any court proceedings will be done. Well, let's go back to the courtroom and see what followed suit afterwards. Back to the courtroom, T3 was asked to leave the stands and report himself to the nearest police station. And now let's look at what transpired in court. The court session kicked off at about 11:45 a.m. with the two legal counsel team in attendance. The session started with the prosecuting lawyer asking the judge for permission to bring up his fourth testifier. He claimed that his fourth testifiers are officers from the National Bureau of Investigations. Simon's lawyer objected by saying, my lord, the prosecuting legal counsel has brought in 3 testifiers already. I think it's only fair and just if I bring up my very first witness to take the stance. The judge gave Simon's lawyer the green light. Feel free to bring in your next witness. Simon's lawyer continued by saying, my very first witness is a member of the BRGI and also a very close friend to Simon. My witness will be codenamed Peace. Well, let's do a quick analysis. What do we think is going on here at this point in time? Simon's lawyer has brought a witness, and this witness is coming from the BRGI. This is a smart move because this witness happens to be a close friend of Simon and a citizen of the USA. So bringing in a witness from a Western world is a benchmark, and also bringing in a witness from the most powerful nation of the world is huge. So let's go back to the courtroom and see what followed suit. Simon's lawyer asked the witness codenamed Peace, who are you to my client? Peace replied by saying, this man is a very close friend of mine. He is a peace-loving man. Simon's lawyer asked, what do you know about my client? Peace replied by saying, I know for a fact that back in 2023, Simon was given a Peace Ambassador Award in Helsinki, Finland, for his personality and character. The award was presented at the Africa Day event celebrating the anniversary of African Union at the Kaisa Cultural Center in Helsinki, Finland. I know this man to be philanthropist in nature and also a helper who have helped a lot of souls in and around Nigeria. So let's do a quick analysis of what is currently happening in the court of law at this particular point in time. As you can see, the witness called upon by Simon's lawyer has been prepared accordingly. Unlike other witnesses we have seen so far, this witness has presented the positive sides of Simon as a basis of conversations. This is an intelligent move coming from the witness codenamed Peace. So let's go back to the courtroom and see what followed suit. Simon's lawyer continued by saying, you say you know this man pretty well. Yes, replied Peace. Have you ever seen him carry out any terror acts? I mean, have you ever seen him disobeying the laws of Finland? Not at all, replied Peace. In fact, this man is also a top politician from this country who have served this country in all ramifications. Simon's lawyer continued by saying, "Are you a member of the BRGI?" "Yes," replied Peace. "What are the activities of this group?" Peace replied by saying, "BRGI actively pursues for the independence of the USB through diplomatic channels and international engagement. They have undertaken efforts to gain recognition and support from other nations and organizations." At this point, the prosecuting lawyer got really upset and asked the court to allow him cross-examine Peace before Simon's lawyer continues. The judge asked Simon's lawyer, "Is that okay by you?" "Yes," replied Simon's lawyer.
My people, don't hear them now. What do you make of it? Drop your comments. But remember, it's Biafra or nothing. Bye for now.